Well, good morning, good afternoon. Welcome to this edition of Tech Talk with Zyxel. My name is Nguyen. I am one of the product managers and sales managers here at Zyxel. I've been at the company now 16 years, and so it's been a fun ride to be able to work with the company that has this kind of technology, and I'm excited to talk about it and share that with you. I guess raise of hands if you can hear me fine, and if you are a new partner here with us. Obviously, you're going to be a new partner wanting to learn more about Zyxel. So thank you, Brandon. Good morning, good afternoon. It's like I said, it's good to be here. The great thing about working from home, not only do I have a green screen that is behind me, but my kids bring me my coffee every morning. So it's been a great thing where I just kind of sit and start working, and then by the morning time, I can just send a text down to my baristas downstairs, and then they will bring me up my coffee. So it's really been fun. We've been in this lockdown. We've been working remote for I think 8 weeks now. Zyxel started probably a week prior to everything started locking down, just to take precautions. And because we are a technology company, we are a networking company. Working remote was pretty common since we traveled a lot when we went on business trips and things like that. So we were pretty much set up for working remotely. But we do miss the interactions with our coworkers. But now it's all like here, it's through Zoom, through interactions like this with our partners. So we do this now and have been doing that for several weeks now. So again, I want you to introduce you to Zyxel, who we are, some of the high level products that we manage, and maybe to give you some background on some of the key points of what products to use in different applications. So I'm going to go pretty fast. It's going to be pretty high level-ish. I may stop at certain points to go through a little bit of the details. But in general, I wanted to give you kind of an overall view of kind of the vast things that Zyxel does. I think one of the things that when I talk to new partners or start introducing them to who Zyxel is, a lot of times I find out that they only realize they thought we only did like one thing, or they knew us for just one small segment of networking, but Zyxel does everything. So let's jump on in. This is supposed to be interactive, so if you have any questions during the entire presentation, feel free to ask it in the Q&A section. That'll probably be the best for me to see. I do see the chat window as well, but primarily the Q&A just keeps a record of it, and then I can scroll down on it if the chat gets wild. But we want it to be interactive, so use this time to help you. We want to be here to help you with whatever solutions that we have here. So let's go ahead and just dive right on in. So Zyxel is a company. You may now see this new logo. I don't have a new shirt yet. We haven't made new shirts since the logo changed. Basically, it's a company split. Zyxel Communications now has become Zyxel Communications for our telco business, and Zyxel Networks is where we provide networking solutions to the channel. We've been around for 30 years. So I've been at the company over half of its existence. So that's pretty crazy. 100 million devices creating global connections. We have 600 employees worldwide in Zyxel Networks. Total between the whole Zyxel family is about 1,500 employees worldwide. 700,000 businesses power up their networks using our solutions, and we serve over 150 markets globally. We take pride in what we do. Not only do we innovate with our software, but also through our hardware. Our design is widely recognized. We won many awards throughout the years for our product line, our product solutions, and we have R&D resources basically in our headquarters in San Jose, California. All of that, within being able to produce the software and design the hardware solutions for you. Now, that's where I think the benefit comes into play. Partners like yourself, you're able to actually engage with us and actually provide us feedback with things that you're struggling with, either from a solution or performance or a feature set that's missing, whatever it may be. You have actually direct contact with us and interact with us, and we take that seriously, especially if it's for a specific market that we are very focused in on. We want to make sure that we are making product that is, fitting for your solution, helps you with your business, helps with your end customer business, whatever it may be. We want to make sure that our product is useful in all those areas. So that's where you have that interaction with us, even with the small partners that we have, the base that we have there as well. Whether you're, one-man shop all the way up to, hundreds of employees, we listen to you. We want to be able to hear what you have to say because you are in the field. you pretty much are our ears right out in the field. So please communicate with us. Let us know of those things so that we can help with our design. We tend to move forward. We like to say that we are solution driven. And that's where kind of Zyxel comes into play, is that we have a full solution suite of products. We want to be able to cater to your clients' needs and what your needs are. So that's why we benefit in using our ecosystem of R&D resources, also in Anaheim, California. Oh, by the way, the U.S. office is based out of Anaheim, California. So we're experiencing, 90-degree weather this week. So it's going to be really warm, but it's really nice out. So hopefully your weather, wherever you're at, is also decent as well. But we are solution driven because all of our portfolio is all about networking. And I did mention to you, like when I talk to partners and talk to new customers, they always say, oh, I thought you only did, this one thing. I didn't know you did all these things. So what I really tell our partners and people I talk to is that we at Zyxel pretty much do anything that's connected to networking. So anything that you plug into an Ethernet, wireless, fiber, LTE, name it, you name it. We have some sort of solution that will make that connectivity for you. Primarily what I'm focused in on in the channel side of Zyxel Networks is the small business, SMB space for business class type products. So security appliances with UTM, wireless solutions with Wi-Fi 6 solutions, managed, unmanaged, all those kinds of things. Connectivity with your Ethernet switches, using fiber, using PoE, layer 2 managed, cloud managed. Again, very specialized switches as well available for that. Gateway solutions, if you're talking about routers for LTE, business gateways, fiber access, connectivity, and all managed in kind of multiple ways that you have options for. Nebula Cloud, Secure Reporter to manage kind of the functionality for security products, using Zyxel One Network. So we have a whole framework of both cloud, non-cloud solutions that you can use to manage these. Okay, so let's go ahead and dive into kind of each kind of product line, or at least the major product lines that you should focus on, and find out what may work for you. Okay, so first we're going to start with security. Security, I think, is one of the important things, especially now with remote access, everybody's working remote, work from home, all those initiatives to stay at home. We need to make sure that businesses that servers with things about security is that people don't realize they need security. So there's a lot of threats that are out there. 54% of small businesses think that they're too small for cyber attacks. I always tell customers that you are on the same exact internet that everyone else is, including the enterprise, meaning that your port could be scanned, your IP address could be found if you are not secure. So if you're just using basic kind of firewall functions, you're going to get hit, guaranteed pretty much. If any of you IT people have ever plugged in a brand new configured, computer, or even just a firewall to see what happens, plug it into the Ethernet, and you will immediately see port scans and things just start hitting your firewall, even though this is a brand new connection, right? It happens because there are many machines that are out there that have been, compromised and that's all they do is to scan IP ranges and all that kind of stuff. And 47% of small businesses have no understanding on how to protect themselves against cyber attacks. Now, this is where you come into play as partners, being educated in Zyxel, in networking, that you can bring this kind of value and this kind of service model to your customers, being able to be the expert on how to do that. So we can help you be the expert so that you can be the expert for your customer, right? So how do you protect all that kind of stuff? A lot of them are really clueless. They don't even realize that. Well, you want to use something that has been trusted. So Zyxel has actually been trusted and been certified for the last 20 years continuously through ICSA Labs. ICSA Labs is an entity that will do interoperability. They will check your firewall functionality, make sure that it's also interoperable with other functions, networking equipment. And I believe we're only like 5 or 6 vendors worldwide that even have over like 15 years worth of ICSA certification. So we're in kind of the top of that. There's only a very small handful, again, like in the 20-year. And so we're pretty proud of that we could be part of that kind of entity, be part of that excellence in bringing our security products to, the world, and that it is being used, across the world to protect networks and do that at a high level. We've partnered with some leading specialists like McAfee, WebRoot, LastLine, Trend Micro, Bitdefender to provide different layers of UTM, malware protection, content filtering, and we'll talk a little bit more about what these are. But what we feel like is we want to utilize these partners and their expertise because they're very focused on a lot of those areas that we're utilizing and leveraging them to provide the best kind of options for our customer base. And so we use them for all of that protection. So antivirus, content filtering, layer 7 application intelligence to do scanning. So, and also even GeoIP enforced by IP address. So antivirus is your malware. Content filtering is what you would want to use if your customers are saying, hey, I want to block YouTube, I want to block social media, I want to do those kinds of things and make sure that they're not going to inappropriate sites or going to potentially malware compromise websites. That's where content filtering comes into play. Layer 7 application intelligence is very important in determining what to do with different kinds of applications. So what we used to do before was we would just open up ports, right, to allow for certain traffics to go through. But with layer 7 application, you're scanning at that application level itself. I know a lot of customers and a lot of partners are like, well, my customer just says, well, an SPI firewall is perfect enough. It is okay, but it doesn't offer that layer of protection when there are open ports and things like that to allow for, to be able to block and to control those kinds of applications. So if you wanted to control things like BitTorrent or even like Skype messaging, you can actually block it at that application level. Now you can do it not just block, but you can allow and do different kind of behaviors. You can say, and even do a time frame and say, well, outside of business hours between 9 a.m. outside of 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. or whatever, you can use Pandora, but inside those hours it will automatically get blocked. So again, you have that flexibility to do all that. So what I usually say about our security products is it can be as simple or as complex as you want or need it. So keep that in mind when you are deploying kind of our firewall solutions, that you have that functionality, you have that ability. And it's really a great, like a platform to sell and upsell, a lot of different functions and a lot of different features. You have sandboxing on our ATP site, ATP series models that allow for machine learning to block unknown threats that are out there that we send off to the cloud. Botnet malware blockers, intrusion prevention, a lot of our HIPAA or PCI compliancy, a lot of those require you to have some sort of intrusion detection, be able to see if there are some behaviors, forwarding of traffic to a malicious site, or those kinds of activities. There's a lot of these heuristics that come into play that will help to block those kinds of attacks. A reputation filter that matches IP address of known and malicious web addresses, and to be able to use that to block as well. So there's a lot of frontline defense that comes into play when you're talking about security. What I wanted to introduce is something actually brand new that we've just added to our firmwares. So one of the benefits of using Zyxel as well is that we do not have any firmware upgrade plan. There's no contract, there's no support contracts that you're required for your firewalls in order to get the latest firmwares. And that's the cool thing, is that people who have bought a USG, let's say 5 years ago, have been able to continue to enjoy the benefits and the new feature sets that we've added to the functionality of the USG without having to pay an additional cost. Now, of course, the licensing, like the antivirus, the malware, it's like what you traditionally have to deal with now. Is there is a yearly subscription fee that goes along with that to kind of provide the maintenance of all the signatures and keep those active and going. But other than that, the firmware, that's all available. So we've added and enhanced our UTM product to allow for what we call Express Mode. Express Mode does a cloud query that is designed to improve the performance of your existing hardware by up to 2 times the amount, or at least 2 times the performance over the normal stream-based UTM. So what we currently have is stream-based UTM. So it's doing deep scan mode, those kinds of things, but we've added that Express Mode to the USG, USG Flex, and the ATP models. Now, you don't know yet about the ATP Flex, and I will cover ATP Flex in a later when we do the announcement. So this is kind of a that's kind of a little maybe a we kind of let that out of the bag, I guess, a little bit. But anyways, but keep that in mind that we have a USG Flex coming. That's coming soon. But the difference between the express mode is that it does some hash matching over the cloud. It offers, again, 2 times performance. The disadvantage of that is that it won't work in isolated environments. It needs the internet to do that. But this is kind of the later technology that you use your higher speed internet, because everybody's talking about getting high speed internet connectivity. You need to have the bandwidth, and your bandwidth is already there, but using cloud basically to quickly check if this file, this signature, whatever it is, based on that hash, is malicious or not. And so that intelligence evolves over time as well as we use that cloud-based artificial intelligence. And we're using kind of the world-leading detection rate functions there through our partnership with McAfee. So, but again, it doesn't work for isolated environments because you do need that internet connectivity. If there are certain types of malware that are, mutant, they call it mutant malware, but it's literally like maybe a different version because the hash may change on that. Or if like a 0-day type malware, it will not get detected initially, right? It may be skipped initially because it doesn't have a hash or a signature for it, just like your existing antivirus now. It may skip it until it gets the signature. But after it has the signature and it becomes known, then of course the cloud query is going to be able to block it. Now, you still have your deep scan mode, which is the stream mode within the products, and that supports offline protection because the signature base, or at least a group of the signature base of the latest threats are loaded within the device itself. So that's really better for like the mutant malware because it does have the signatures a lot quicker, I believe. And so it can, search and actually do the actual blocking within the local side. The throughput is limited though by the hardware. So depending on which model you use and depending on what capacity, your internet connectivity, you might have to figure out which model is best suited for that application. The number of signatures is also, again, limited by hardware. So usually they block the latest 600,000, I believe, 600,000 or 6 million, I think 600,000 threats that are out there. And that's provided by information through our partners. So that allows for us to still block within that. And then our ATP series actually has a hybrid mode where it does both cloud and stream concurrently at the same time. So it can do matching and signature-based matching. And that gives you the better level of protection because it's doing both. It gives you the both options. But it's a little bit of a higher cost because the ATP model is a higher end model in regards to the USG series. Now our products, we proudly are one of the few vendors. I think there's only seven brands in the world that has some sort of gateway that allows for you to connect to both AWS, certified for AWS, and also Microsoft Azure certification. So you can check all the supported models. Basically, all of our firewalls will allow for you to do that. In the typically, it's like the VPN series and our like USG 100s and above. Those are the models that will allow for you to directly connect the VPN connectivity to the Amazon or Microsoft cloud. And you need this if you are running, virtualized machines, or maybe you have CRM tools that are in the cloud and you need to make that connectivity. You have to use one of their approved certified firewalls to do that. So Zyxel is obviously one of those that gives you that option. So we wanted to get the word out when you're dealing with those kinds of applications, especially now people are moving everything to the cloud. You have to have this kind of access to do that. So just taking a quick detailed look at our portfolio. Our VPN series, like I just mentioned, those are basically for our SD-WAN, VPN kind of capabilities. It does offer content filtering, device high availability. So device high availability is being able to allow for multiple devices to be kind of put into a group. And those two devices, if one fails, then the other one automatically can take over. We have those capabilities. And also all of our firewalls have built-in wireless controllers, meaning all of our business class access points can be provisioned and managed by the firewall itself. So you don't need any extra hardware. You just may need some additional just licensing to open up the number of seats that are in these firewalls. Now, I'd like to also report, because of remote working, because of all of the initiatives that are needed, we've also increased the capacity of our firewalls for VPN and SSL VPN connectivity. So it's just by an upgrade of the latest firmware, you may end up doubling or even tripling in some cases the number of defaulted seats that you have available, and also increase the capacity of the total capacity of SSL connectivity as well. So take a look at that. We had a press release. We did a news a release as well. We're working on a web page, splash landing page that allows for you to hear more about the remote working and all the tools that you need with that, and obviously the firmware information as well. But so you know that that's what we have, and that's what we're doing to solve some of the problems to help existing customers find ways to connect using VPN. So VPN series, it's all about scale. We go from the low end to the high end. And again, this is more about focused on VPN connectivity. So if you need VPN in the office or in a home office, like using our VPN 2Ss or USG 20 people to make a hard that firewall, and all of that traffic and all of those users can actually get back to the office using just one VPN tunnel, rather than having to connect a tablet, an IP phone, your laptop, all of that back to individually back to the office. You can do that with just a single hardware VPN, and do that obviously securely. So again, it depends on which performance you're looking for. You'll see the throughputs there. If you ever worked with networking equipment before, SPI firewall throughputs are the highest number, and it's done with the theoretical number. So they're pushing the largest packet sizes with multiple different sessions all at the same time to kind of find its breaking point, right? Find out what speed that it can fully push. But realistically, what we all know is the real number, if you're doing like a speedtest.net type speed test, the number typically will range about 50 to 60% of that number. So keep that in mind. So let's say, for example, the VPN 100 has a 500 megabit VPN throughput. That's good for, a 250 to 300 meg connection, at the office or at the home office. I think the biggest limiting factor that I've run into for remote access, remote users, is that most of the offices that are out there typically have asynchronous, connectivities, meaning that their download speed is very high and it's very good, but their upload speed is really slow because it's just, usually a 300 meg connection will have like a 10 to 15 meg upload speed. And that's going to be where the problem will be when a remote user is trying to download something. That's the upload speed of the office, and it's not going to be very fast. So we have to keep that in mind, either that, or you may have to increase the speeds, the upload speeds, if it's offered by the, at the office level to get the experience better. But it just ranges, through, again, performance, all the way up to the high end. Now, USG is what we call kind of an all-in-one firewall solution. It provides you the UTM, which is the antivirus, intrusion detection, content filtering, IDP, all of that in a single box, as well as all the VPN functions as well. So this is kind of an all-in-one, kind of all-around. UTM just stands for Unified Threat Management, if you don't know what that is. So that is just kind of a general statement that says, here's all your malware blocking, your content filtering, your antivirus, whatever it is, it's all part of this UTM. Again, it has wireless controller features, has device high availability in the higher end, but just think of that, this box as being kind of the all-in-one solution. So again, it scales also from the low end to the high end, our USG 40s to all the way up to the USG 2200. Now, again, what you want to look at when you're deploying UTM is the UTM throughput number. So example here, USG 210 has a UTM throughput. So the antivirus intrusion detection, when you turn it all on, it has a 500 meg connection or a throughput, or at least a tested data sheet number. So in actuality, the realistic number is it's going to be good for 200 to 300 meg, 250 to 300 meg connection. So that's where I kind of keep that in my mind to kind of spec out when a customer. That's what usually my first question is, are you doing UTM? Are you looking at doing content filtering, intrusion detection, and all that kind of stuff? And what is your internet speed? Or what is your planned internet speed? Because they may only have like a 100 meg connection now, but they said, you know what, I'm getting, a 300 meg connection soon. So you have to kind of place that and spec that into the whole system. Now, so that's the USG series. It's an all-in-one box. And this is our latest generation of product, our ATP firewall. This is our high performance, built on very high performance hardware. It can achieve typically 2.5 times better than throughput for UTM than the USG series. So if you're finding, hey, the USG series is not meeting the speeds that you need, definitely the ATP is where you need to go in terms of speed. Now, what the ATP does offer is one other layer of protection that goes beyond what the USGs can do, and that's called sandboxing. So sandboxing is an AI technology. It's in the cloud. It's used to send and identify threats that doesn't exist, or I say zero-day threats. It's a file that nobody knows about, right? So that's the typical malware that you will see. I think in a lot of cases is a lot of zero-day threats. So sandboxing comes into play where it actually uses the cloud, and I'll talk about a little bit about that. It has enhanced UTM. So not only is it doing that cloud enhanced UTM, it's also doing the sandboxing and also the stream engine. So it does that hybrid cloud functionality. It does have some additional things like botnet filters and things like that that will help with the above and beyond what the traditional UTM does. It still has the wireless controller, has device high availability available as well. So it goes beyond your conventional UTM, this ATP series. Unified Threat Management, gives you a nice way to block threats as long as it's known. But ATP goes beyond that because it does use some sophisticated technology to do that. So let's look at what conventional UTM does. Based on the signatures that are available, the heuristics, the reputations for anti-spam, IDP, antivirus app control, content filtering, whatever it may be, it usually comes in 2 buckets, right? It's kind of very black and white. You can see that it's good, it's a good traffic, or it's bad traffic, right? So it can block and allow pretty easily. But what happens is kind of that gray area when there is this, things that can't be identified. It may look suspicious, but if the UTM is too strict, then the problem will be is that the user experience will be really bad because all this traffic will get blocked when it shouldn't be blocked. So that's where ATP comes into play. It uses sandboxing and AI to manage that. So it can identify what conventional UTM cannot. So it's able to conquer unknown security threats. So zero-day attacks, zero-day threats can be identified, again, because it can detect that file doesn't exist in the database and be able to send it off to the cloud for analysis. That means that any unknown threats can be made known. So it can block suspicious traffic while still maintaining the high speeds that we need. So making sure that when we transition from a lower speed internet connectivity to a higher speed, it's able to facilitate that. Unknown files are then isolated again in the sandboxing, and then it's using technology to analyze that. So the cloud intelligence sees those threats. It also shares that for future. So once it's identified as a threat, it can be sent off to other devices to use as a mechanism. So that cloud intelligence is very important in our whole ecosystem. So it employs machine learning to evolve the AI. So over time, more and more potential attacks and makes the AI smarter. So how do we conquer those unknown threats? Let's say an unknown file comes through, we send it off to the cloud, it emulates it in that sandbox, and then it contains it, puts it into, checks any kind of packet patterns. If it's trying to make connectivity to a malware site or to an unknown server or in a weird country, whatever it may be, it does all that, and then it uses that information to identify if it is malicious or not. And if it's malicious, obviously it will quarantine that or make that information available as part of the defense intelligence. And then it updates signatures to the database, which then can be shared across the entire ecosystem that uses it. So all of our ATP products and any of our future firewall products will be utilizing this global cloud database of information. So again, utilizing technology from partners that allow for us to do this, through Lastline. They are one of the top ones for sandboxing technology for blocking malicious attacks. So we're utilizing their expertise and using that across the board for our product line. So the ATP series is our advanced threat protection firewall. It comes in multiple flavors, just like our USG for scale, but you'll see that even on the lowest end, our UTM throughput is 250 megabits per second. And that's with all the UTM services turned on. So at a box like the ATP 100, you're looking at a $400 to $500 investment in that particular product line to get 1 year worth of all the UTM services included. So the gold security pack for ATP series is everything is opened up. It's fully loaded, as we would say. The wireless LAN controller, it can go up to 24 APs. All of your malware protection, all of your botnet, everything that you would need in the box is all opened up, right? And for that security pack. So that's all included, makes it easy to renew, makes it easy for your customers to buy or when you just sell it to your customer. And on top of that, you could also, split it up as well. We have managed service providers who will offer a service plan for the customer and just charge them, let's say $50 a month or whatever for the managed service. And that includes all of the licensing to keep your hardware secure and managed. So you might want to look at that as well. We have some PowerPoints. We have some webinars that are related to, how to become a managed service provider and things like that. So we do have the ATP 700 that's also releasing. So you'll see actually we're launching and you'll see coming this month, the ATP 100W is a wireless version of our existing ATP 100. So it gives you wireless N in there, Wi-Fi 5, sorry, not wireless N, 11AC Wi-Fi 5, 2x2 in the built into the device itself. Okay, and then on the higher end, we're also releasing an ATP 700 model to kind of fit in between the gap that the ATP 500 and 800 that we have existing, doesn't cover. So that can be used up to 264 access points, can be controlled by that firewall, doing a gig worth of UTM throughput. So that's good for, a 500-600 meg connection for actual UTM. Now you will be doing, if you do any kind of like speed tests, you'll see that actually the throughput of the firewall will actually be pretty high. What is Secure Reporter? So all of our firewalls support what we call Secu Reporter. The ATP line comes fully bundled with the Secure Reporter as well. So if you are already launching and installing Secu Reporter, I think it was Secu Reporter, the license for Secu Reporter is already there. It's a cloud-based reporting tool. Allows for you to centralize reporting information, data, security services, traffic, user, device health, all that kind of thing in a single cloud solution. So all of that data, all the syslogs and stuff like that gets sent to this Secu Reporter, gives you a better picture of what's happening on your customer networks. You can leverage reports from this Secu Reporter to give to your customers. So a lot of questions I always get is when people try to go to a managed service model, the customer usually goes, well, why should I pay $50 a month? Can I just one-time pay and that's it? But you could show your value of how you're maintaining and how you're using these firewall solutions to offer, a secured service, giving these kind of reports that show who are your top, bandwidth users, who are the top websites, or what are the top websites that people are going to, who are those that people go to. You can customize these reports to show kind of the value of what was being blocked, who's using what kind of traffic, and be able to show, hey, this is what you've been paying for, right? And they can then see the value of things that are typically, unseen. How do you know that your network is getting attacked? Well, you can show them this report that, hey, this month you've had 250 potential attacks that were blocked by the firewall. And again, that shows value to the services that they're paying for. So that's something that's very different from what it used to be, because you kind of just assumed as long as you logged it and there were no downtime, you just assumed that it was working. But here with Secu Reporter, you can actually show what has happened and also kind of keep record and keep log of that over time as well, right? So you can go back in time and look at weird activities, or you can use it to kind of help you troubleshoot what has gone wrong, or if you had some sort of audits that were needed to send reports for. There's a lot of threats that you have to then report, maybe what happened or things like that for PCI. All right, so Nebula is one of our cloud solutions that I wanted to talk about. This is a very important, kind of migration of our product line and what Zyxel has to offer. So Nebula is just like it sounds. It's a cloud solution. So it allows for you to manage product and networking equipment via the cloud under a single pane of glass. So really hassle-free network management. So we call it Nebula. Nebula kind of comes into two flavors, but the important thing about Nebula is that it allows for you to set up without even unboxing the product. You can register your device via the Nebula Control Center or the application on your phone, you can scan in the serial number and the MAC address using the QR code that's there, and you can even configure the device in the cloud before you even take the thing out of the box. Now, this provides a very interesting topic that we're actually going to be covering in a webinar on its own, is all about the whole social distancing and being able to do almost like an Uber Eats type installation, contactless installation, in the sense that you could deliver the box or ship the box to the customer and have the customer follow just basic rules of how to connect their firewall or switch or access point into their existing network. As long as that network that they're using at their home or in the office has DHCP, can get internet connectivity through an IP address, through that network, then it will automatically call home. And once it calls home, you have access to it. So once you've registered to your device, the device goes, hey, who do I belong to? It goes, okay, I belong to, partner A, and I belong to customer A inside that partner. So you can actually pre-configure the device as it's being shipped, because you've already grabbed the MAC address and serial number. So that's why we say it's, so you can set it up without unboxing it at all. And once it gets online, it can be up and running in minutes, meaning that with just a few clicks, with it just, calling home, and if you've already pre-configured it, it will dial home, it will grab the firmware that it needs, it grabs the configuration that you've already configured for it, and get that all downloaded, and then it's ready to go. So that's really the hassle-free of this installation process. Is you can also, with what we call the Pro Pack, allow for you to do cloning of sites. So the cloning of sites is actually really cool for especially for partners who have a lot of cookie cutters. You may find out, obviously in the networking industry, no matter what application it is, it always is very similar, right? There's always the same base. So if you're talking about a doctor's office, or just a regular business office, or maybe a small hotel, not a hotel, but a chain restaurant, they're pretty much the same in the fact that they need a firewall, a firewall gateway that allows for them to do maybe a guest network access. They need a switch to power up their access point that runs both a private and a guest network, right? So that's pretty typical. And the only thing that really changes maybe is like the SSID, maybe certain levels of security and things like that. But in general, it's pretty much the same. So what you can do is you can create a site, kind of a base template site, and use the configurations to clone. So when you get a new doctor's office, you can throw that into a new organization within Nebula. You can then clone that site from the template and clone it to the new organization. Now you have a baseline that you can just maybe tweak, and it's ready to go in terms of, once you deployed it and you've scanned the QR codes of the three devices, the AP, the gateway, the switch, now it's applied to that organization. And now when it gets online, all that configuration gets pushed. So you can have that cookie cutter, and it really helps you to deploy it really quickly, especially if you have, you're able to kind of open up the gates and allow for people to order, and you manage a lot of different sites at the same time. It allows for you to do that. Again, you can also work with some of our distributors to even drop ship it to the customer itself. And as long as you can get the serial number and the MAC address of the devices, either from your distribution or from the customer, just taking a picture of it for you, you'll have that information to load it into Nebula. So there's no additional hardware or software. Well, there is software, it's in the cloud, right? But there's no additional things that you need. You don't have to install a cloud key or a piece of hardware into the network. You don't have to install a computer in the network to get visibility. You don't need to install any kind of special software. All you need is the web browser. All you need is the device itself that has and supports Nebula. All of the agents and all of the communications is all built into the device itself. So again, you don't need any kind of additional things for that. So you don't need those additional hardware. You don't need software, and it allows for you to just use the browser and access it anytime, anywhere you want. So whether you're hiking on a mountain, as long as there's internet connectivity, you can check on a network, you can do configurations, you can do access of that through the browser. So the app allows for you to get a good visibility of the network health of the different organizations. You use the app to scan in QR codes to add to the different sites, but you can still go to the web browser of the tablet or the phone to still get access to the whole control center as if you were opening it in a computer, right? So we've optimized it for that to work in that regard. So you still have access. You don't necessarily need a laptop per se to do configurations, or at least to check. Obviously, it's a nice thing to have because it's a bigger screen to work with, but you have access anywhere you have internet connectivity. So it gives you really peace of mind that you can manage all of your clients under one roof. We have multiple organization setups that allow for you to do, let's say, customer A, and let's say it's a retail shop. So let's say that retail A is the organization, and each store is a different site. So you can manage, store A, store B, store C, and just manage it on that. Then you can have a second organization, a different customer within your same management portal view. So you have multiple customers having multiple sites, each managed from that single pane of glass. You can also check on the health of the different groups as well. So you can see it from an organizational level, or you can jump down to each individual site to see what's going on. But it gives you an overall information like traffic summaries, top gateway clients that are being used, how much PoE is being used, how are your health of your APs, your switches, all kind of under a single dashboard. And you can map it into like a Google map where they are physically as well. The other cool thing too is that with the app, you can take a picture of when you would do an install of an access point, you can take a picture of where that access point exists, right? Physically take a picture of it and load it to that site so that when you are doing troubleshooting and stuff like that and you send an engineer on site, they know what they're looking for or where it's located. So you can put all that. But it gives you that real-time summary. It gives you information on what's connected as well. So it actually will detect the different devices that are connected. So whether it's a laptop, iPhone, whatever it is, whether it's going through the Wi-Fi, detected through a port, it can see all that information, especially through our access point monitor. So we can see the traffic utilization, the signal strength. So this really helps for troubleshooting when you have a customer or maybe an employee that is calling in and saying like, I'm having terrible access. You can actually see what's going on and take action regarding that, because maybe they're sitting in an area that you may feel is of poor Wi-Fi coverage, right? So we can take advantage of that system. But again, it's all in the Nebula Cloud, and we offer Nebula Cloud as a free solution. Now, there are some information and insights that I'll talk about a little bit more that's part of the Pro Pack. When you enable Nebula in the cloud now on the free version, you'll see other options that you can select that are grayed out, and it just basically says with Pro Pack. So if any of those features pop up, you can ask about or check out what those features are and see if that's beneficial to you. But I think most of our partners who have tried Nebula definitely move to the Pro Pack because of the additional benefits, the features, the reporting, the clone sites, those kinds of things are part of that professional version. But we do offer that free version if you're just trying to compete on the low end and the customer just needs basic visibility, you need the basic provisioning, that kind of thing. But it gives you network insight as well, what's going on the network, like how much power is being used for your PoE, which uplink ports are using the most traffic, again, just to monitor where, the entire network health itself. You also get access to all the port information. You can run ping testing, all that through the switch and do some live troubleshooting. So it has troubleshooting tools, it has visibility, it has analysis, it has reporting. So all encompassed, and Nebula continues to evolve. I believe we have over a few months ago, we had gotten a notification that we had hit a milestone of over 40,000 devices are on Nebula today. And I think the number continues to grow quite rapidly as people realize the benefits of cloud, and that they had been wanting to use a solution before from the higher end models, which I won't name, higher end vendor, let's say, that offers a full cloud solution. But that was quite expensive. All of the maintenance and the support contracts and everything like that for that kind of solution was too much for small business. So we're really tailored for that small business access for Nebula. So we did it in a way that allows for us to what we call Nebula Flex. We offer you a free Nebula solution, again, for the base kind of model. So Nebula Flex is what it sounds like. It's flexible. You can choose on our Nebula Flex models. It has dual mode functionality. So you can choose it in the free mode, or you can upgrade it and buy the Pro Pack to give it some professional versions. So there are access points, gateways, and switches that can function in both modes. Whether you want it to be standalone and want it to be future-proof for the cloud, so that when your customer is ready or when you're ready to move to the cloud, you can activate that to the Nebula Pro. So it supports, but with Pro, there's a lot, again, like I mentioned, a lot of technologies and features, advanced monitoring, machine learning for switches and Wi-Fi, the professional packs for security, the support for partners, hardware, like lifetime warranty, everything like that. It's all in kind of the Pro. Now, hardware warranty is for all of our business products. So you don't have to necessarily go with the Nebula Flex Pro to get that hardware warranty. But again, there's plenty of features that are out there. I'm not going to cover it here. We do a monthly webinar with more about Nebula. And so you can find out more about that. We just did one recently, so it should be on a recording. If you have any questions on that, you can find out more and watch that last, or at least the latest Nebula recording webinar. So you get to even visualize the network. So again, it's part of the troubleshooting. It can auto-detect devices and where they're connected. So as you have them connected, you can see the switches that are there and all the devices that are connected to those switches through the whole network. So it actually will do this auto visualization as well. So that's part of the Pro Pack. The other thing that's part of the Pro Pack is IPTV broadcasting information. So we've actually configured Nebula to detect that and give you reporting on the multicast, the IGMP traffic, what channels are being watched. So this is a great solution for maybe a hotel that's trying to deploy or has deployed IPTV, or in those kinds of things, to see what channels, or even when you're deploying into, maybe it's a restaurant that they have a lot of screens and they want to see and negotiate pricing, to the service providers or the TV content providers. So this allows for them to get that visibility, sees all the traffic, it monitors and reports the channels, it optimizes it as well for that kind of traffic. It does the reporting options, like I mentioned, so it can tell you what channels have been in use. It gives you an instant view and some insights on the IPTV information, what channels were watched, what switch port they were, how long each individual device watched each kind of channel. Again, it does machine learning to optimize your IPTV network and gives you kind of a summary. So it's part of a Pro Pack feature, but it's a really cool if you're doing for IPTV or you're looking to go into IPTV. Gives you that visibility. So we worked with some IPTV partners to develop the information that they wanted to have that was beneficial, that they could show to their customer, right, to their hotel customers, this kind of information. So we continue to evolve it. So that was Nebula. Now we're moving into wireless. Well, wireless, there's a lot of things that, obviously we have wireless devices everywhere. The biggest problem, I think, with wireless is that you can't see it. It's hard to troubleshoot. We have, a lot more devices that are on there trying to compete for Wi-Fi space and also for traffic space. So there's a lot of things that go into that. But again, you can't see it. It's not just like an Ethernet cord that you can troubleshoot. And a lot of times you have to add new access points to try to increase performance or try to split up the network. But in a lot of cases, there's a pain point of like, even if you added more APs, it doesn't improve the quality. So we don't know why, right? So why do these kind of issues happen? Why do we deal with, bad connectivity, even though I might be right here underneath the access point? What is involved there? So usually the issue is what we call co-channel interference. As you are trying to put more speed into the network, as more people are competing for that speed, you're using more and more channels, right, in that network in order to achieve that. But in doing so, you're overlapping a lot of things because Wi-Fi itself has a certain bandwidth and number of channels that you can utilize for it. So co-channel interference is the biggest part of why a lot of wireless networks don't work very well. And that co-channel interference could also be other types of interference as well, right? But in general, it's interference. So how does smart antenna, or what is smart antenna and what does it do? So here is just a normal access point with the static antenna. It doesn't have any smart antenna technology. It just provides a coverage, right? Usually kind of a circle shaped or, an oblong type shape. And so there might be a microwave or something like that, or whatever may be causing interference in another room. So that interference could also impact the devices. So it causes issues within that network. Now with how does smart antenna work? So let's say you still have that. A Wi-Fi client actually can be moving around. Oh, actually, it's not moving around. It's just, let's say there's a Wi-Fi client that the access point can see. There's interference behind it, right? And what it does is the smart antenna actually scans the client for interference. It looks and selects an algorithm of over 700 optimized channel patterns. And it does it very quickly. And it finds the beam that basically is works the best, where it is not affected by the interference, but then can also talk better. So the analogy I've used in the past is imagine yourself being in a field, and there's somebody else on the other side. You're the access point. With smart antenna, you're basically speaking in a direction where you cup your mouth, so it's focusing the energy towards the Wi-Fi client. At the same time, it is then cupping, listening better at the same time. So any interference, any noise behind it, it's hearing less of it. So if you do that yourself, you could totally, obviously you understand the aspects of this or the analogy is that you can hear a lot better when you cup your ears, right? And so and also I get a lot louder when I'm focusing my energy when I do this as well. So that's what it does. It continues to do and scan that even if the client is moving around. So as the client may be moving around, it checks for different patterns. So what is actually co-channel interference? It's like all the traffic coming together in one space. Everybody's communicating, trying to get connectivity, right? Or to get that. So what smart antenna does, it increases capacity, it reduces interference, and so it increases its coverage and does it in a very smart and effective way. And it's available. The technology doesn't require for the end device to have any kind of technology. It just needs to have Wi-Fi. We're doing all the work in our smart antenna technology. So you can see that that's how we've designed our product and how it works. So we've designed it for a great experience. Not only that, because of how we've designed it, we also offer a lifetime warranty on all of our access points. In fact, all of our business class products have lifetime warranty on our products. All right, so these are the smart antenna ones, both again with Nebula Flex and without Flex. You have options. Most of our APs are Nebula Flex. So you can use it in standalone mode. You can use it in controller mode on the higher end models, but then you can use the full Nebula versions as well. So the NAPs are our access points that already have Pro Pack included. We know that the major application use for Nebula and Cloud is for managing access points because there's usually a large number of them, right? When you do a deployment of any kind of business, or maybe even a hotel, you're talking 20 to 30 access points, usually in an even small hotel. So that's where you want to have this kind of management layer, is be able to see all of that. So we have ranges again from the low, mid end, all the way up to the business class models with our flagship WAC series. These two models don't have the Nebula support, but on the higher ends they do. So these are our WAC fully 3x3 11 AC with smart antenna technologies. And then we are coming out with our products on the Wi-Fi 6. If you have not seen the Wi-Fi 6 presentation, we have also a webinar on Wi-Fi 6 that was done, I think, last week or a couple weeks ago. So just check that out too. We have that recorded. So you can see our entire solution of Wi-Fi 6. So these are also models that will be launched out into the market this year. And then the last topic that I wanted to cover real quick was switching. Now, every network, we always give kind of all the attention to security, and Wi-Fi gets all of the attention because that's the nice solution, right? Everybody can walk around, get connectivity, and it's all what every device does. But all of those networks depend upon a switch network in order to function, either for power or for connectivity. So the reliability and the quality of your switch network needs to come into place so that you don't have to deal with networking issues that may be related to using kind of the wrong switch or in the wrong application for that. So I wanted to talk about, some of the naming conventions, because the switch can be a little bit complex in some case from the naming, because there's so many varieties of them. ES, if it starts with ES, it's just an Ethernet switch, which is your 10100 switch. GS is our gigabit switch, supports up to 1 gig. XS is a Roman numeral for 10, and that usually covers our 10 gigabit. And that also includes our multi-gig switches as well. So it has 2.5 gig, 5 gig, and 10 gig connections. Our XGS is our traditional 1 gig port. So it's still a GS switch, but it has 10 gig uplinks, right? So that's where that naming convention comes into play. MGS is just a metro switch. It usually is our higher temperature range made for like outdoor cabinets type installations. If it ends in a P or an HP, it typically means that it's PoE. So it's just high power PoE or PoE. Fiber is usually denoted by an F. So those Fs, usually all the ports are all fiber transceivers. When you see something that says it's a switch combo port, the combo port just means that it can function both either as an Ethernet port or an SFP port that share the same port number. So you can only use one or the other. You can't use both at the same time. Okay, so but typically they're denoted by the same port number. But that gives you the flexibility whether you're using fiber or non-fiber. So fiber ports are denoted by SFP, SFP plus. SFP just means it's a gigabit fiber transceiver port. SFP plus means it can support up to 10 gig. So you need the appropriate transceiver to not only go with the right fiber, but also the distance that you're going for as well. Okay. Switch stacking, when we talk about that in some of our models, you have to use kind of a direct attached cable to attach or connect both of those together by Ethernet or by fiber, depending on what product it is. But it allows for you to have virtual kind of stacking or, of the device. You can still stack and cascade devices through any uplink ports now, but what this stacking allows for you to do is from a physical stack, it acts as if it is one giant switch with 96 ports, let's say. And PoE is very important application because it powers up everything. So PoE, we have multiple flavors that you have to think about. The classification of PoE, the 802.3AF is our 15-watt solution. All of our current products are all PoE plus, which is our 30-watt solution. So that's 802.3AT. And we are now launching Ultra PoE products as well. And you'll see a couple models that have that. It's our 60-watt solution, which is 802.3BT. So we'll see more and more of those switches come along as more applications like Wi-Fi 6 utilize those. So PoE is the most important, I think, application of switches today. It is usually the best-selling switch on the market. What Zyxel offers with our PoE is intelligent PoE management. I call it smart PoE. It's able to control how much the budget on the switch is to what is actually used by the device. So it can control that. It can control the ports, how much power is, or what when to turn it on, turn it off. It can schedule that and prioritize the different ports. So let's use an application example with from the example of using classification mode versus Zyxel's intelligent PoE. So in classification mode, let's say this IP phone utilizes the 15.4 watt standard. So it's a class 3. So if you want to power up 24 phones, it would actually use in classification mode 369 watts. So you could do that in this particular application, but with its actual consumption is only 9 watts. So what the budget will allow for you to do is only consume 216 watts. Of course, both of these cases, you still fulfill, it's still within the range of that 375 watt. But if you're doing a mismatch or a mix and match of different networks, you might not be able to do that. Now, let's say you have a pan tilt zoom type camera that uses a classification of 30 watts. Well, if you wanted to power up 20 of those these cameras, it would cost you 600 watts of power to do so. So that's a lot more than a lot of these switches can do, especially in, let's say, this competitive or even Zyxel switch. 375 watts is pretty much the normal kind of size. But in consumption mode, it detects that the camera is only using 16 watts actual draw. So it actually allocates that budget for the camera. So in so doing so, you can still power up 20 access points or 20 of these IP cameras with the consumption of 320 watts, which is well below the 370 watt budget. All right, so that's kind of the example of what we do. And that can apply to access points as well. So the benefits, we already went through that. I think I doubled up on my copy paste here. Our switches come in all sorts of flavors, just like the networks, different power options, different management, whether you're being web managed or fully layer 2 managed with 10 gig uplinks. Again, it's a very wide range of product lines that can cover from the low end to the high end, depending on your applications. But the one that most of our partners have gravitated to is our Nebula Flex models, our GS 1920 series, our XGS 1930 series, and our newly launched XS 1930 series, all with Nebula Flex and Smart Manage. So you can use it in a Smart Manage mode with a GUI, or you can put it into Nebula for free, or you can throw on the Pro Pack capabilities into Nebula. The XS1930s I'll talk about. This is our new multi-gig switch that has PoE options on it. I'm really excited about it because that's what we need to power up Wi-Fi 6. So we have our 1920 series and 1930 series. We have some fanless model. It comes in 8 ports, 24 port, 48 port, with and without PoE. You can there's fiber uplinks for it as well. All of our ports can be link aggregated, so you can do multiple. Fibers can act as if it's one giant pipe. So it allows for you to do major uplinks for that if you need to. It has cloud LED that tells you when it's in the cloud. You can have information on that. The PoE also has some indicators as well for your PoE usage, and it tells you when you get to the max numbers. So multi-gig is our new multi-gig switch. It can provide up to 10 times more throughput, 2 times more in PoE. So using existing Cat5, Cat6, you can throw anywhere between 1 gig to 10 gigs over Ethernet cabling, and it supports up to 60 watts of PoE. So this is where our product comes into play. It allows for you to do things like Wi-Fi 6 deployments that use multi-gig. So that's where the main benefit is. Not only is it a lot quieter, it gives you that flexibility of the multi-gig connections on 8 to 10 ports. It has the display information like you're used to on our 1920 series. The restore to last custom default, I didn't talk about that earlier, but it's a really great feature. Allows for you to copy almost like an image of what you've known or what you want the device to be, right? So let's say you've configured the device. You said this is the perfect configuration for this device. You can copy that to this last custom default so that if the customer or your technician ever needs to put it back to that state, they can click on that, push the restore button, and allow for it to go to that known state. So it doesn't take you back to the factory defaults, but it takes you to the default that you have created and said, this is what is been known as the perfect configuration for this application. So you can do that. And it helps a lot in a lot of cases there. Again, I mentioned PoE uplinks for ultra power. So you can see that even in this 10 port, actually 8 port of PoE with 4 uplinks, the budget for the 8 ports is 375 watts. So that's quite a big power budget in a very small port concentration because we are looking to provide enough power for applications using the 60 watt standard. And again, it still uses our technologies for consumption mode and things like that. So we are launching, and these should be available in the coming weeks. We already have samples already out to a lot of customers already for the XS1930s. But this is primarily used to power up the WAX models of our access points or any other access points that you may be using that require for you to use multi-gig, so 2.5 gig uplinks, and use ultra PoE for power. So keep that in mind that even though you may, you could use, the 30 watt standard to power up those AX access points, that it's going to be probably run at a lower kind of performance level because it doesn't have enough power to go to the full max. So make sure that you are matching up your access points to the correct switch that provides it enough power. So it will still allow for you to power it. So last thing is our partner program. If you are already a partner, thank you very much for being part of our partner program. You exist, or you get to sign up and be at our silver level. It gives you some major discounts already. On that, we have percentages that are listed. You can talk to our sales team if you don't know what they are. We'll find out now, but you want to be able to get to the gold. That gives us our maximum discount through distribution. We work with D&H, Ingram Micro, Cynix, Wave, and Target Distribution to provide that. The only caveat, there's no cost to be part of our program. The only caveat is if you maintain $6,000 in a 6-month period in sales, then you will stay in that tier. But we want you to be able to get to the gold tier, which is $12,000 in a 6-month period. So that's $2,000 of Zyxel business a month, and that's like 2 security firewalls, in the ATP series. It's in the mid range. So that's not out of the question to be able to maintain that. So if you are looking for that, contact your sales rep. If there are any other questions that you may have, please send me now, in the Q&A section. I know we covered a lot in this like hour or so, but I appreciate that you spent the time with me to go over that. And if there are any other details or certain product lines that you want to cover more or want to hear more about, again, reach out to our sales team. We have Ivan, who is in the East Coast or East area region. We have Jacob, who is in the West region, that can help you out as well. Or you can contact your distribution sales rep, and they will be able to contact the appropriate sales team member to help you with that as well. But what we really want to do is be able to offer us as a valuable resource to you. Not only do we have our systems engineers on board, our tech support, but be able to give you access to talk about maybe what solutions you're trying to deploy. If you have questions on what's the best options, good, better, best on this kind of application that I can present to my customer, use us. I mean, talk to us. We'd love to help you with that. If you have any questions, email me. It's try@zyxel.com. If there are certain topics that you'd like to hear more about, that we do our weekly, tech talks with, let us know, because we'd love to educate and help you think through any of those topics and how Zyxel can fulfill those kinds of needs. All right, so at this point, I don't see any questions, so I must have done either you've fallen asleep or I've covered what you need to know, or you've just been, sit back in a blur and everything's, going over your head. But either way, we're glad that there was something that you could have taken away from this. And maybe the one thing that I would love for you to take away and to remember is that whenever dealing with anything related to networking, just think, Zyxel probably has something. Let me check with them, right? Because we probably do in many cases. So any kind of applications you're working on, any kind of solutions that you're trying to deploy, any kind of problems that you're trying to solve, let us know, because we will probably have equipment and a solution that's already been tested, been deployed, and being used by customers today. So again, like I said, as simple as you need or as complex as you need, Zyxel has some sort of networking solution for that. Okay, so until next time then, again, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me in my email. It's try@zyxel.com. And we will have some additional trainings coming up, just to you kind of saw a little bit, but in a couple of weeks, we'll be announcing and doing a webinar on our USG Flex line. So we're gonna cover that. So I hope you guys can join up for that when we have that announcement ready and to present, because there's a lot of things about USG Flex that I'm excited about as well. So you can see we continue to just provide new products, new technologies, and I encourage you to look for some of our older webinars that we've just done recently to find out other topics that you're talking about, including one that was very popular, was the remote access, how to secure remote access networks and how to work remotely. So check that out it's either on our YouTube page as well. You can check it out on our Facebook page, but we also have a VAR page on our website that allows for you to see all of our past webinars. So again, thank you so much for spending the time. We hope to see you at a later Tech Talk. Until then, Try Nguyen here again, just to say thank you for being a loyal partner, and we continue to look forward to working with you soon. Have a great and wonderful rest of your day. Stay safe.